On today's episode, I'm going to list why living in Germany may not be for you. We have a huge list, so let's talk about it. Hello, you Lieblings. I'm Mari, science fiction and fantasy author who's been living in southern Germany since 2014. So this is clickbait. There is absolutely nothing wrong with Germany. It's a perfect country. That's it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here, just kidding. In all seriousness, I like living in Germany. I was super nervous when I first moved here in 2014. And even the first 6 months were really hard. But now that I've been here for almost 8 years, it is home. But I know Germany is not for everyone. Hell, when I first came to Germany to visit my family back in 2007, I swore never to move to Germany. And well, you know how that went. So let's go through the list of things to keep in mind if you are considering moving to Germany. Maybe the land of beer and pretzels may not be for you. Of course, I will be trying to write this from the perspective of an American moving to Germany because, of course, every culture is different. So I can't say something in Germany may not work for you when, in fact, it's already normal in your own country and culture. So since this is YouTube, let's do this list style. Yay, YouTube. Number 1, Germans appear to be colder than Americans. Let's face it, making friends as an adult sucks. Period. This is likely true wherever you go, even if it is within your own country. But it is much harder when you move to a new country or culture because there's also a language barrier. Sure, plenty of Germans speak English and speak it very well, but you will be quick to learn that you can't speak the same English the same way you speak to your friends back home. Germans are not going to get your cultural references, and you won't understand theirs at first. There's a lot of stumbling, and that's even when you manage to find the Germans who are willing to talk to you. One of my first videos was on the cultural differences between Americans and Germans, and I had compared Germans to coconuts and Americans to peaches. A coconut has a hard exterior, but once you're past it, you find a soft, sweet inside. You're going to need patience to crack these coconuts. Honestly, and there's not even a guarantee you'll crack it. Just saying. If you want a culture that has that easy and open friendliness of, say, Midwest United States, this isn't it. This is a country that will make you work to create those connections. It is worth it. Trust me. Some of like I said, I love it here, but you got to work for it, guys. Number 2, bureaucracy. Oh man, German bureaucracy. It is the bane of everyone's existence, including the Germans themselves. It is usually written in a form of German that even Germans have a hard time understanding, nonetheless us foreigners. And it's also written in a manner that leaves no wiggle room. So the best example I can come up with was in my time in the pharma industry. If you're new here, what's up? Hi. I originally came to Germany on a work visa. I was working for a German pharma company in Chicago, and when I met my now husband, I transferred within the company and was able to come to Germany as a result. So in pharma, we have a saying, if you didn't document it, it didn't happen. Documentation is very important. And you're dealing with very expensive products, drugs, and every part of the process has to be documented for traceability and reference, especially when you have the US FDA coming sniffing around. Like even in Europe, like of all the international quality type what's the word? Like agencies from around the world that would come, FDA is always the one that everyone's afraid of. So, what I'm going to touch on here at the moment is specific. It's not specific to anything of the clients or the products that I worked on because I am, non-disclosure. It does have to do with the generalities of how documentation was carried out because there was a big difference between a U.S. company and a German company. So every pharma company has what's called an SOP or a standard operating procedure. That is, and there is an SOP that is dedicated to the company's GDP, which stands for Good Documentation Practices. There are general ideas that have to be carried out across the entire industry. Like all documents have to be dated and signed, or forms have to be completely filled out. So using NA, like non-applicable for parts, and like there's something that's throughout the entire industry that is the same. However, there are little differences that are specific to the company. For example, when I was filling out forms in Germany, I was only allowed to fill them out with blue ballpoint pen, and that was because you would know what you can tell the difference between original and which is a copy. Because it didn't matter anyway, because according to the overall GDP, when you make a copy, you're supposed to have the word copy stamped and dated and signed. So it really didn't matter the color pen, because in the States you could use either blue or black, but in Germany it had to be blue. And you knew a copy was a copy because the copy was still stamped in red letters at the top, no matter what. Or the best part was if you have a form, a part of the form that is not applicable, like that you can't fill out for a specific test or whatever because it's not applicable, you would write NA. And in the States, in those SOPs, they would include several different acceptable options for NA. And that would include like NA in capital letters, capital N, small a, or lowercase NA, or N/A. I don't remember all of them, but there was a whole bunch because it really didn't matter as long as it said NA. But in Germany, you were only allowed the one. And I got called out so many times in the beginning because I kept doing it wrong. And there's no wiggle room, no coloring outside the lines. And actually, the best part was the higher ups actually in Germany had a conversation about whether or not I should be forced to write using German numbers. And this is mostly specifically with 1, 7, and 9. In the end, they only told me I had to change my 7, and I was allowed to continue with my heathen American ways in writing my numbers. In the US, the number portion of the documentation SOP would also have several variations of numbers that are acceptable, but in Germany, no, you get the 1. No wiggle room. I still find it laughable to this day because they would make such a big deal about how one writes their numbers. I mean, like, really? This is the hill you're going to die on? But that's just a small taste of a bigger picture. And it was a big shock for me because I am used to flexibility. And when you see how inflexible some weird things could be in Germany, you have to decide if you're going to be okay with that. To be honest, I wasn't at first, but they won. I got used to it. Okay, that was a long one. Number 3, you have thin skin or you have a hard time taking criticism. And Germans are going to tell you what they think. And or if you did something wrong. Or if you ask a German a question, you will get an honest answer. In the US, we are used to trying to sugarcoat criticism or use what we like to call the compliment sandwich, which is the compliment, criticism, and compliment. On the other hand, Peruvians have no qualms with also pointing things out. But usually that's something that just remains within family. Strangers don't count. So that's a different thing. But you can bet your bottom dollar that your Latin family will definitely not hold anything back. So it wasn't that much of a shock to me. I mean, in some ways it was still getting something to get used to, mostly with the strangers. Like I said, I'm used to, family being honest and upfront, and especially about my weight, which it is what it is. But I still something I'm not a big fan of in Germany, where you have random strangers giving unsolicited advice. If you don't know my name, don't think I'm going to care what you think. Number 4, you're a fan of air conditioning. So compared to Indiana summers, Germany isn't that warm. Their humidity is, it's not that much humidity comparatively. There can be about a 2-week window, give or take, where it's hot as balls in Germany and you won't find air conditioning, or like not that much in Germany. And even if you do, it won't be set very high. And that's because people will complain that you will get sick from it. I was a microbiologist for 10 years, guys. You cannot convince me that AC makes you sick. Just don't even. No. Anything you send me will be anecdotal and likely not to be scientifically proven. So, but seriously, if you need AC, Germany will be unbearable for this time frame. In all honesty, though, and you hear a lot of Germans say when they were younger, because of climate change, for the most part, it really wasn't necessary. It's only now with climate change that things are starting to get worse. I think in some ways, some of the attitude is changing because of it. But yeah, I mean, in all honesty, it depends on what you need by air conditioning. I have friends back in the States that need like 65 degrees in their house in the summer. Pretty much like all of German summer is just going to be unbearable because it's going to be warmer than that. But yeah, that's for us. Where my parents' house, we never had it that low. It was always around 70, 71 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's actually most of German summer anyway. So it's not that bad. Number 5, you need a regular dose of vitamin D. So I had joked with my cousins in Spain that Germany doesn't know what sunshine is. Germany gets on average 136 days of sunshine. So like that's a third of the time of the year that gets sunshine. Personally, I don't suffer from seasonal depression that much. I mean, I will admit going 2 weeks without seeing sunshine still gets to me. Gets to everybody. I mean, German winters are gray and sad, and the only saving grace is like all the festivals and Christmas markets and Jahrmarkts and Fasching/Carnival. But we've been denied those things for the last, well, we're going on a 3rd year now because of the freaking Rona. So the fact that we have not had these things is, oh, holy hell, winter has just sucked. Number 6, you don't want to learn German. Well, so the US doesn't have an official language, and that is on a federal level. Specifics, when you get like state level, there may be an official language. Like Indiana, the official language is English. If you go to the southern states, they'll probably be like English and Spanish or, whatever, because obviously each state has its own different history and demographics. So I think that's part of why. But as a country as a whole, we technically don't. However, in Germany, they do have an official language. And if you want to get permanent residency or even perhaps citizenship, you're going to need to get on that. You're going to need like a minimum of a B1 level of German, full stop. If you move to a bigger city like Berlin or Munich, you can probably get away with speaking English more, but you still need to learn the language. You got to at least put in the effort. Personally, I didn't have that luxury. I was working for a company of 3,000 employees where I only found one other American after working there for 3 years. Like, I had no one. I had friends who could speak English, and that was fine, but it was to my advantage to learn German as quickly as possible. So, do it. You don't have to be perfect. Trust me, you don't have to be perfect. However, showing that you are willing to make an effort will get you a lot further with locals than just sticking to English. Number 7, you don't like to party. Germans party a lot, guys. When my husband and I got married, one thing that really surprised the Germans was that most of the Americans partied really hard, but really early, and they were pretty much all in bed by 11, maybe 10, like 10 mostly, and then like some stragglers at 11. Well, the rest of us partied until well past 5 in the morning. At least I did. My husband was still partying. I was done with my dress. Well, I'll say Peruvians can also party long to the night. When I went to my cousin's wedding in Peru, we partied till 7 in the morning. However, in the States, we are so used to places closing so early, we just aren't used to it. On the other hand, when it's the first night of Mooswiese, which is the festival in my area here in Germany, we are usually out until early in the morning. And it doesn't matter how old we are. We will be partying. The best way to describe partying with Germans is it's a marathon, not a sprint. Number 8, you don't like high taxes. You technically will pay higher taxes in Germany. You will also pay a church tax. Yeah, we have that here. You can pay somewhere between 30 and 40% in Germany compared to somewhere between 10 and 37% in the States in terms of income tax. But in Germany, we also have church tax. And as well, like something like sales tax, the value tax, that's 19%. There is no church tax in the States, and the highest sales tax in the States is 7%, unless you include Puerto Rico, which is 11%. But the taxes in the States mostly pay for our war machine. German taxes pay for education and better infrastructure. Healthcare is separate. I got called out on that once when I said that healthcare is a tax. But at the same time, though, a good portion of your salary still goes towards this as well. And if you're in the public system, then your employer also invests the same amount. My most watched video is why Americans don't want socialized healthcare. So I know the idea of paying higher taxes to invest in society is a terrible idea to some Americans. So if you don't want to do that, don't come to Germany. Woo! So that's what I got on this list at the moment. As I said, I really like living in Germany. It's been very good to me, but I am aware it is not for everyone, and that's okay. More for me. What do you think of this list? Are there any other reasons why Germany may not be for someone? Let me know in the comments below. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and give this video a thumbs up. It lets me and YouTube know that you like this kind of content and you want to see more. Please leave me a comment if you have any questions or if there's a certain topic you'd like to see on this channel. If you want more info on my books and newsletter, check them out in the description below. And don't forget to connect with me on social media, whether it is through TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or the Facebooks. And that's it. Until next time, ade!